Hello. This reading today, the feeling I have is that we are going to have to get a little woo woo in order to get grounded, which I really like because that's a paradox. And in my experience, paradox is that's truth. That's the next layer of truth. That two completely opposite things that can't be true at the same time actually are. It's just a limited thought processing system that can't resolve it. It's like that's where our human limitations are, because the eternal is paradoxical. There have been a lot of how do I put this? Echoes from the past coming up. Like, for example, this morning when I woke up, like a few minutes before the alarm went off, the word seneschal was in my head. Not the first time, like just random words would be in my consciousness as I come out of sleep. But I Googled it, and it's got ties to Old French and Old English, like caretaker of royal estates and stuff like that, which seems like one of those echoes, So I don't know what the reading is actually going to be about, but there's been a lot of past that wants to be talked about. So we'll see. There was this one date that stood out during my sleepy Googling, and it was 1066. So I don't know if the story you told today is going to be about a past life, about a past moment in civilization. We'll just see where it goes. Because, that's part of the fun of all of this tarot story stuff. So we have the Page of Pentacles in reverse, Two of Swords in reverse, Three of Wands, and the Star in reverse. And immediately I'm drawn to the cosmos in these cards. There's this, if you can see this, it's almost like a beam of energy between the moon and the sea. I kind of wonder what is out there on the sea. Is it a ship? Is it something that people kind of know about and they're kind of waiting to hear from? The Three of Wands is typically the card of waiting for your ships to come in. But in this deck, this woman with the really long platinum blonde hair and this white dress and a staff, she makes an appearance in a lot of these cards. This is the Mystic Dreamer Tarot. She makes an appearance in a lot of cards, and I always get the impression that she's very psychic. She knows things that she has no way of knowing. There's something dirty about this whole situation. There's something like the dirty darkness. Something devious and destructive. Because if we look, there are two inverted star pentagram things. That's what I'm getting. That's the impression I'm getting from this. There was something done. I don't know if it was a spell or some ritual that caused harm. That is definitely the feeling I'm getting here, though. And the two crows and the sword. Yeah, and the Emperor. The two crows and the sword are standing out. This talks to me of Viking days, Nordic kind of barbarian times, and the spirituality of the barbarian cultures. There are 3 roses on this woman's lap. I have never noticed that before in this card. I've had this deck for quite a while and I have never noticed or paid attention to the 3 red roses in her lap. I think this one also feels the effects. This person feels the effects of this person's deviousness. Then we have the Emperor in reverse, which kind of makes me think of, he's also got a crow with him, which makes me think of the old fairy tales where there's a man whose wife dies and then he marries that evil stepwoman, the evil stepmother story. They may harken back to those kind of days, like the times in which, or maybe just the mental space of inspiration to believe in fairy tales, like whatever easy coffee, easy, whatever whatever inspired the thought of fairy tales was a real thing, even if the fairy tales themselves were not. Being drawn to the unicorn deck. The Oracle of the Unicorns, I think is this one's name. Ooh, wow. Okay. As I split the deck, we have Beloved and Miracles. Definitely an interesting, as I talk about fairy tales, Beloved and Miracles come out. And you know, in those old fairy tales, there's always the evil stepmother who tries to harm the princess. Imagination. Envision a new reality. Give yourself permission to dream. Believe in unlimited possibilities. If once upon a time people were inspired to think of these fairy tales, what else is possible to be inspired to? If that makes any sense. Freedom. Live wild and free. Choose your freedom. Claim your independence. This to me feels like you have the power to break free from any real or imagined slights against you that hold you back. Because as vast as some people's darkness, or as deep as the darkness in imagination can go, as deep as that mental space darkness can go, the inspiration of the light can go even further. It's like a continuous wave is what it feels like. Like as the light expands, the darkness is pushed further and further away, which in turn expands them both. It's a very surreal kind of surreal kind of reading today. Yeah, it's about where imagination meets reality. And it came up in reverse. So all of these imagined things, and I'm being pulled to the moon in the back. We just had that Aquarius full moon, which is very dreamy, but at the same time also quite rebellious. An example from life, which makes me chuckle. At the bus stop this morning, there was, I guess, where I pulled where the tires like made a line in the dirt. Well, we tell the kids not to go too close to the road until the bus is actually there. Well, this one little girl said, "Don't cross the line because the bus will run over you." And so every other child at that bus stop at least put a toe over the line. And they were all kind of having this big joke about it. And it seemed like the spirit of rebelliousness got all the ages that are at that bus stop. Every single one of them wanted to push and test, which I feel is a very Aquarian thing. Like, oh, the bus is going to run me over if I put a foot over that line? Let me see if that's actually true. Which kind of goes back to this wicked stepmother doing evil shit to keep down the fairy princess. But it's like she has, okay, this here, she already has the roses. You can't take them away from her no matter how many blindfolds there are, no matter how many crows walk by or weird swords just hanging out. The roses are still hers. They cannot be taken away. And this evil queen, let's just call her, she's waiting for her wicked spells to have their dastardly effect. And it's sort of in this, it sort of hangs in the balance of what'll be manifest in the real world, because we have hope and faith and prayer and renewal and stuff like that. And the star card, the very Aquarian kind of what you can imagine and how that sets you free versus what is real, what will become real from all of this, what makes its way into the physical world. And if you look, there's also another rose on top of this pentacle. Eight of Swords in reverse and the Ten of Wands. So what this says to me is that whatever was done here, whatever energy wave is supposed to rock the boat for this innocent princess type chick, whatever's supposed to rock the boat is not happening. And there's this, the one who wishes harm is starting to feel the reflected negativity. It's coming back and back and back, and there's not a way out of it. Like in this card, the Eight of Swords, there's a sense of entrapping oneself with thoughts. This suggests that it's actually not possible to just stop thinking that way, and it eases the burdens. These burdens have to be felt. There's a real sense of, maybe that's what the past echoey thing is about. Maybe karma from that time. I don't want to say karma from that time, but like an imbalance in the books, in the Akashic Library or whatever, however that woo-woo stuff works. it seems like there is an imbalance. Three of Swords has been dished out, but it hasn't been felt by anyone yet. And if you put it out there, it has to land somewhere. It's like what ships go out eventually land somewhere, even if it's at the bottom of the ocean. Four of Wands in reverse. It's having an effect on people's stability, the foundations, even now. Five of Cups in reverse. This card always makes me think of, like, why is this person out walking in what's obviously a fairly cold place when there's like this port back here and this castle on the hill? Why is this person so far away from the comforts of that are available to her? But there's an incredible view from this place. So the 3 spilt cups and the 2 standing ones, I think both of them are valuable in some way, is the sense I'm getting today. There's a swan swimming on this lake, if you can see that. But it's almost like the comforts of home and the inside of the castle and the bustling metropolis and the trade or whatever. There's good and bad to both. You know, just as when this person's out on this hill, there's good and bad as well. There's an amazing view, but it's far from those comforts. So the feeling of there's like this tension between the sender and the recipient of this destructive wish. There's a feeling of the tension within both parties of like the good and the bad and the good. They're both the same thing and they both contain both, but they're being pulled apart, if that makes any sense at all. That's the paradoxical part of all this, is that one is supposed to be good and one is supposed to be bad, but they both have both. And the sending of this desire for destruction is actually reflecting back onto this person. And they keep expecting it to hurt the other person, and it doesn't. But the other person does feel some blockage, like a tinge of blocked wonderfulness. And throughout lives, their roles can be switched, because between them there is unresolved karma, this desire to hurt the other person, but in a quantum woo-woo kind of way. It's a desire for self-destruction. But on the opposite side of it, which is also the same side of it, there is this desire, not even desire, there's this innocence that does not deserve to be hurt, which is sort of where that unresolved internal stuff is, our wounds from childhood, past lives, whatever. Unresolved wounds. You want to also lash out, but then no one deserves to be lashed out at. It's just that wound needs to be healed. Mm. Very interesting story. I don't know if it's the time, like the great turning of fate that the Wheel of Fortune talks about. Um, the turning of time, or however you want to talk about the unfolding of events. It's maybe time. It's at that place in the story of eternity where the innocent and the evil, kind of meet up and see a part of each other in the other one. And so the paradox gets resolved because both can be true at the same time, whole and pure in their essences. It's like the hand of God is big enough to hold it all and to have it be all positive and productive in that way of like seeing your wounds and how, like, if you invite destruction in, you can kind of see where those wounds are already destroying you, if that makes any sense. I hope whoever that message is for finds this. Yeah, Two of Pentacles. Yeah, this is exactly what I was talking about. The Two of Pentacles in reverse. This speaks to me a lot of like what was here already. Like the evil queen and the innocent princess. But no princess is ever truly innocent and no queen is ever truly evil. They have elements of both within each other. And so the roses that are on her lap that she can't see because of whatever this negative wound was from events in the past or whatever, that is blocking the blossoming of whatever the rose represents for you in life, whatever is blocking its manifestation. The laws of the universe, karma, whatever you want to call it, is actually bringing these two opposite things together. The two ships, both ships are coming in and they're going to meet at some point, I think. It looks like a snake is entwined in these two juggling pentacles. Let's see what this, let's take a clarifier on this. Yeah, the King of Pentacles. Everyone forgets about the poor old stepdad, or the poor old dad who married this step monster. He's also in reverse. So he plays a part in this too. He plays a major part in this that has not, his part hasn't gotten into the mix yet. But all of that is about to change. What just hit me, the idea that just hit me, is all of this little drama here, the coming together and the stepmother and the princess kind of thing. They've all been feminine up to this point. The feminine has wounds. The collective feminine has wounds that have been played out against each other throughout the centuries. You know, one woman trying to hurt another woman, but neither one of them deserve to be hurt because all of that is based on a wound. The time has come, I think, what this story is saying. The time has come for women to embrace the innocence and the darkness in each other and to be separate yet balanced in that paradoxical kind of way. And to stop the lashing out. The lashing out is what has to stop. We don't need to worry about the red roses. We need to worry about the white. Which to me, okay, wow. All right, so the red rose is about romance and stuff, typically, like the passionate, romantic kind of love. And to me, the white rose very, very firmly represents forgiveness and peace, like a burying of the hatchet, if you will. So, for whoever this message is for, it's time to stop worrying about what women have tried to hurt you, what feminine qualities. So, like the nurturing, the staying home during times of war, like the men would be warriors and they'd get to go out and prove themselves in battle and have that release of aggression, whereas women back in those barbarian times that we were talking about earlier, they stayed on the home front and tried to reassure the children and keep the home place safe. Like they were always left behind, is what I'm going to say about that. And this is not very politically correct. It's ancient principles. PC has really no place in that. So sorry if you're offended by these archetypes, feminine, masculine archetypes, whatever. Historically, the men went out to fight and the women had to stay behind. So the stress of that, like, let's see, the battle on the battlefield, there comes a moment where the fear, the rage, all those emotions, all that emotional stuff, there's a moment where you overcome it with the masculine principle of just go, just do. And then things kind of work themselves out in that moment of, I don't want to say mindless aggression, but where the sword is just swung and things happen. There's no emotional, like the emotions get shut off almost. Well, for the one staying in place, the one who's left behind, who doesn't know what's going on or what to do about it, there's a lot of stress that just stays and builds and whatever. And I think that's what led to this problem, this dichotomy of innocent and evil, this judginess that's there. I think it's time to bury the hatchet on all that judginess within the feminine, because everybody's stressed out. And perhaps the time has come to integrate within self the masculine and the feminine principles, the action and the staying, and all of the unresolved karmic tension. It seems like it's being resolved. The first within the masculine by itself, and then within the feminine by itself. And then the two, once they are, it's almost like the yin and the yang. Once the black side of it, once it's all purely black with the one white circle in it, and this one's purely white with the black circle in it, once everything is in order and all the lines are clean and crisp, then you can come together and clean up those lines. The Chariot. The bringing together of two various diverse principles. And if you look, the crows are still with them. and this environment of creepy. And there's water too. So it's almost like the emotional, like the stresses of each separate masculine and feminine, the goer and the stayer, if you want to call it that. When you bring them together, you can travel through any environment and it turns out better. It's all a very spiritual woo woo thing. Hopefully that made sense to somebody. And if we have the ultimate goal is balance and peace, no matter where we all are on the journey, the ultimate goal of this moment, I think, is to resolve the paradox, to have two opposing things work toward the same goal, no matter how creepy. Anyway, that's the end of the story for today. I hope you enjoyed that. Have a good day. The end.